Yo, 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 welcome to episode 3 of DJ's Locker Room, a basketball podcast. Today you'll get my thoughts on the conference finals. We'll discuss the games that happened in the WNBA over the past couple days. We'll check back in on my fantasy team, the Manhattan Menaces. And in Open Gym, we'll talk about Rudy Gobert's performance so far in the conference finals. Let's get to it. Let's start off in the NBA like we always do. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals between the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Dallas Mavericks beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 1, 108-105. Luka Doncic had 33 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds. Kyrie Irving, 30 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds. PJ Washington, 13 points, 7 boards, 2 blocks. And Derek Lively had 9 points and 11 rebounds. For the Timberwolves, Jaden McDaniels led the way with 24 points. Anthony Edwards had 19 points, 8 assists, and 11 rebounds. 6 players from the TWolves were in double-digit scoring. This is a very entertaining game. Like I mentioned before, this would be the more entertaining series of the two between the East and the West, and it didn't disappoint. Dallas completely demolished the Timberwolves at points in the paint, 62-38. The one problem that I see the Timberwolves having is on the defensive end. They can score the ball at will. They can play half-court offense. They can play fast break. They operate well in the zone. They also play good at exposing the matchups. But defensively, stopping Luka and Kyrie has been a problem for them. Anthony Edwards may not want to guard Kyrie anymore. The first game that they played, I believe Kyrie Irving had about 38 points. He had 30 in Game 1. I think the best way to contain Luka is to not let his assist numbers go up. Make him a scorer. He can drop 70 on you. He's done it this season against. He can drop 70 points on you. He's done it against the Hawks this season, which was a crazy game. If you missed that, I would recommend go finding those highlights on YouTube. You can't let him throw those lobs to Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively and PJ Washington in the corner for the three. He's good enough by himself. The last thing you want is for him to get his other teammates involved by having 13 assists. You're not going to win that way. You have to make sure that he's kind of that one-man show, kind of like a James Harden. I mean, James Harden's going to drop 40. We'll live with him dropping 40. Don't let the others get hot. And I believe that's what happened in Game 1. The Timberwolves let the others get hot. Other adjustments that I think the Timberwolves need to make is I think Karl Anthony Towns needs to be more active inside the paint. I understand he's more of a trail 3 person now because Gobert's in the middle and you got Naz Reid also coming off the bench, picking up where everyone else isn't. But Karl Anthony Towns, this is technically your team, right? Or have you given those reins to Anthony Edwards already? If you have, that's fine. You still need to be productive on the court. We need more than just you shooting threes and holding your follow-through like Monica from Love is Basketball. Chase your shot. Go get the board. Go get active. If you're still injured and can't do that, why are you on the court? We've got Naz Reid. We've got Luka Garza that we can throw in for a couple minutes to give guys some breaks and hold down the fort. I think Anthony Edwards is going to have to swallow his pride on this one and not guard Kyrie. After Game 1, Anthony Edwards was exhausted chasing Kyrie around. It was too much for him. And on the offensive end, he kind of struggled a little bit. Couldn't get the shots up. His legs were gone. It just wasn't the same Anthony Edwards we were used to seeing in the other series this playoffs. Maybe they should try putting Jaden McDaniels on him. He's a bigger body. He's 6'9". He's a lot longer than Anthony Edwards is. I think putting him on Kyrie Irving would give Kyrie a tougher chance to shoot over someone. And I think putting Anthony Edwards on Luka Doncic, the physicality's there. Anthony Edwards is a lot stronger than Jaden McDaniels from what I've seen. That push-off is going to be a lot tougher against an Anthony Edwards than it would be against a skinny, lanky Jaden McDaniels. Game 2 is definitely a must-win for the Timberwolves. You don't want to go to Dallas down 2-0. And it's not a series until you get one on the road. Dallas made it a series after Game 1. They got one. So we'll see what happens next. The Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers tipped off Game 2. Boston took this one, 126-110. Jaylen Brown had 40 points. Jason Tatum, 23 points. Derek White also had 23 points. Drew Holiday had 15 points and 10 assists. For Indiana, Pascal Siakam had 28 points. Andrew Nembhard, 16 points. Tyrese Halliburton had 10 points and 8 assists. Halliburton also left the game early with a hamstring injury. I believe it's the same hamstring that's been bothering him all season. I don't think he's fully recovered from that. I think he was trying to come back early to make the 65-game requirement for postseason awards. The Boston Celtics won the points in the paint, outscoring Indiana by 20. One aspect post-game that I wasn't necessarily a fan of would be the media trying to put Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown against each other, like they're not able to coexist on the same team and still be great. It seems like whenever Jason Tatum drops 40 points, Jaylen Brown will have about 25, and then everyone's saying, oh, well, Jaylen Brown's not the guy. He didn't show up. What's going on? And vice versa. Whenever Jaylen Brown has 40, they want to jump on Jason Tatum and say, oh, well, you're not doing enough. When you have two superstars, two all-stars on your team, I don't think you need both of them to be great in the scoring column. If you haven't noticed and watched the games, whenever Jaylen Brown has 40 points, odds are Jason Tatum has 8 or more assists, 12 or more rebounds. He's affecting the game in other ways because Jaylen Brown has established himself as, I'm going to be the scorer tonight, which is a great thing to have on your team because now you don't have the pressure of dropping 40 every night just to win a game like Kevin Durant, like the Lukas, like the Paul George and Kawhi Leonards. There's no pressure. I can just go out and play the game and fit in where I see fit. And I don't have an issue with that. Now, is there pressure on them to win a championship this year, considering how dominant their team has been all season long and considering the competition that's left in the playoffs? Of course there's pressure. This core has been together for years. They've grown together. They've made changes. They've made adjustments. They've made trades. They got Drew Holiday in, a proven winner. They got in Porzingis, a proven superstar in the league. He hasn't won much, but this is his opportunity to prove that he can be productive on a winning squad. I think this is one of those years where if you don't win a championship this year, you may never get one with this group. The window for certain organizations to win a championship is very small. You look at the Bucks when they played the Suns. It was theirs to lose. You look at the Raptors when they played an injured Golden State Warriors team. It was theirs to lose. If you didn't win that one, the odds of you going again for a back-to-back, very slim. And that's how I feel about the Celtics. Take advantage of the opportunity while you still have it. You have to win this year. Game 2 from the Western Conference Finals. Dallas won again, 109-108. Luka Doncic, 32 points, 13 assists, 10 rebounds. Kyrie Irving, 20 points, 6 assists. Derek Lively, 14 points and 9 rebounds. For Minnesota, Naz Reid had 23 points off the bench, shooting 7 for 9 from three-point range. Anthony Edwards had 21 points and 7 assists. Mike Conley had 15 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. And Rudy Gobert, 16 points, 10 rebounds. This was a very evenly played game statistically. I just find it amazing how Luka continues to control the game with such a slow pace and his lack of athleticism. And he's dominating every pick and roll scenario to perfection. Very rarely do you see a turnover come from him in a pick and roll or a high screen switch. He sees the mismatches. He finds the open mans when they decide to double team him late in the shot clock. He's playing the most efficient basketball right now in the playoffs. And as you can tell, the Mavericks are definitely capitalizing off these with wins. Derek Lively is also playing his role to absolute perfection as well. He's getting you the rebounds. He's battling in the paint. But when those lobs are going up, he's catching them. And he's finishing them. And sometimes he's getting fouled on him. He's hitting his free throws. Derek Lively has definitely changed to become the X factor of this series. I thought it was going to be PJ Washington. Derek Lively has proven to be a problem in this league. And possibly as he gets better and understands the game more, he could be a third piece to this Dallas Mavericks team. The Timberwolves still need to switch it up defensively. It's getting frustrating seeing the same thing happen over and over, and Luka Doncic is still picking you apart over and over. When are you going to make an adjustment? When are you going to switch it up, do something different, make him look at different looks? Right now, he's got two options: high screen and roll. If they put a big on me, I'm taking him. Or if you keep the small guard on me, I'll just back him down, hit a step back three, and we'll go from there. I fully understand Anthony Edwards' competitive nature on wanting to guard Kyrie Irving. This isn't the series for you to do that, sir. And that's fine. It's okay. They need you to score. They need you to be aggressive. This is a great defensive team. They've got other guys they can put on Kyrie Irving to slow him down because you're not stopping him. All you can do is slow him down. So if that's the case, why even bother? It's just going to exhaust you on offense. And then when your legs are gone, you can't get the right shots up. You can't be aggressive because you have nothing left in the tank because you're exerting all of it on defense, chasing Kyrie around screens and becoming his cone dummy whenever he does his dribble combos. The last point I want to make about game 2 is how lost Karl Anthony Towns looked out there. It doesn't seem like he's flowing with the offense at all. It just seems like Karl Anthony Towns is just out there. Naz Reid is coming in and subbing you out and being productive. He's letting it fly. He's hitting those shots. He's also getting rebounds. There have been too many times that I've seen Karl Anthony Towns leave his follow-through up for about 5 seconds as the basketball bounces off the rim into somebody else's hands, and you're not even backcourt on defense yet. You're still hoping it goes in and bounces in when it's already in the opponent's hands for the rebound. If you're not healthy, I'll say this again, if you're not healthy, if you can't go and give your team what they need from you 100%, get off the floor and let somebody else who can do it. Timberwolves are down 2-0. Game 3 is your game 7. We all know the records of what happens when a team goes down 0-3. You cannot afford to lose game 3. Make an adjustment. Find the dog in you. Find the grit. Find the heart. You didn't beat down on the Denver Nuggets in game 7 for nothing. It looks like you guys don't even belong here, which I believe is not true. I also think the fans don't believe that's true. The fight that the players are putting in, you can tell that's not true. They belong here in this series. For some reason, finishing games, and I get that Luka is a clutch player, one of the best in the league, but there's more you can do. How about we try to get to a point to where you're not necessarily in that situation to rely on your defense to win you games? Defense wins you championships. That's great. But against Luka Doncic, and he's got the last shot, you might as well hang it up. There's no hope. He's going to hit it, as he has every time in this series. So game 3 is your game 7. Defend like it. Play like it. Act like you want to be in this series and you want to get to the finals. Back to game 3 for the Eastern Conference Finals. Boston came out on top, 114-111. Jason Tatum had 36 points, 8 assists, 10 rebounds. Jaylen Brown, 24 points. Al Horford, 23 points and 3 blocks. Tyrese Halliburton did not play in game 3, so everyone else had to step up and make up for the lost points and lost production they were going to get from their point guard, from their all-star point guard at that. Andrew Nembhard went crazy. He had 32 points and 9 assists. Miles Turner had 22 points and 10 rebounds. Pascal Siakam, 22 points. And TJ McConnell off the bench, 23 points, 6 assists, and 9 rebounds. The question thrown out there was this an ugly win for the Boston Celtics, or was this an ugly loss by the Indiana Pacers? You could say both. I believe it was both. The Celtics are clearly the better team here, but you just got to win the game. Good or bad, ugly or cute, win the game. That's what we play for. It doesn't have to look great all the time, as the Celtics have probably had way too many ugly wins this season. But an ugly win is an ugly win. They'll take anything as long as there's a W next to the final score for them. The Pacers had control of this game probably from middle of the second quarter until halfway through the fourth. It just seems like they got out-hustled, outworked, And maybe they're feeling it from the 7-game series against the Knicks. Maybe it's starting to take a little bit of wear and tear on them. Because like I mentioned before, most teams are not conditioned to play basketball this deep into the year. They're young, they bounce back quick, and most people cannot sustain this long of a season. Some of them are complaining about how long the regular season is, let alone playing a 7-game series 4 times. At the end of the day, the Pacers missed another opportunity to make this series somewhat closer than what it could be. Right now, they're looking at a sweep. They're down 3-0. No one's ever come back from a 3-0 deficit before. They forced Game 7s. The Celtics did it last year. There are other teams previously that have forced a Game 7, but they never closed out the series. It's a tough task to do. So tough that it's never been done before in however many years and however many series that have been taken and that have ever been played. I thought this series in the conference finals for both the East and West would be a lot tighter than this. The next question, I guess, is will Tyrese Halliburton come back for Game 4? They need him. As an NBA team and as players, you don't want to count the season out already before you've even played the game. So you still have to go in with a positive mindset and say, we can win this game, 1 game at a time. Why not try to make history? They're going to need Tyrese Halliburton to come back, though. They need him in a uniform. On to the W. The Indiana Fever fall to 5-0 versus Seattle Storm, 83-85. Caitlin Clark had 21 points, 7 assists, and 7 rebounds. Nalissa Smith, 16 points, 11 rebounds. And Kelsey Mitchell had 17 points. For the Storm, Jewel Lloyd had 32 points, 6 assists, 11 rebounds. Nneka Ogwumike had 22 points, 9 rebounds. And Ezi Magbagor had 14 points, 9 assists, and 3 blocks. So far this season, the Fever have really struggled to finish out games, to close out games. It has not been their bread and butter. They're a growing team. They're learning. We keep saying it. We sound like broken records saying it over and over again. And that's just the next step in terms of being a good team, is learning how to close out these tight games. Learning what your bread and butter is, whether that's a high screen and roll, whether if that's an ISO mismatch in the post with Aaliyah Boston, you've got to figure out who your go-to bucket is, who your go-to person is. I don't think they know. I think they want it to be Caitlin Clark, but she's been struggling with the adjustment. She's also got to be exhausted from literally playing in the Final Four in the championship in college, getting drafted, having training camp, and starting the NBA season within a month. It's got to be a lot on her. It's got to be a lot on her legs. I think all the Fever need to do is focus on a system that incorporates Aaliyah Boston, Nalissa Smith, and Caitlin Clark together and create a big 3. Find out how all 3 of them can mesh together, whether that be, Aaliyah Boston is a trailer shooting 3s from a pick and pop, and Nalissa Smith is your pick and roll diver. They've got to figure it out. They've got plenty of time. They're all young. They definitely have some time to, trial and error. The Storm also got their rookie, Nika Mule, back. Her visa was approved, and she's now able to play with the team, so congratulations to them. I think integrating her into the system is also going to give them a chance to have a deeper bench. We saw what she did at UConn. Defensively, we know what she can do. Offensively, that's going to be the challenge of where she fits in. You can't just be on the court and only play defense. This isn't the NFL. This is basketball. This is the WNBA. So there's tremendous upside for the Seattle Storm this season. The Connecticut Sun beat the Minnesota Lynx in overtime, 82-83. DeWanna Bonner had 20 points. Brianna Jones had 19 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Alyssa Thomas had 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. For the Lynx, Nafisa Collier had 31 points and 11 rebounds. And Courtney Williams had 19 points, 6 assists, and 7 rebounds. The Lynx were up 5 with a little over a minute 40 left in overtime. They struggled to close out the game. Alyssa Thomas took a 7-foot layup for the win. The Connecticut Sun remind me of the current Denver Nuggets. Their center runs everything. It's different because she's also their defensive stopper. Jokic isn't really playing too much defense out there. He's running the offense for sure. Everything's going through him, just like everything's going through Alyssa Thomas. She could finish a game with 18 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, a triple-double. She's been flirting with them all season. They'll turn you over and run the fast break. They'll play in the half court. Their out of bounds plays are really quick. They can get easy layups off those. I think they're just a complete team. They play the complete game. They slow it down. It's not the pace that you want to play. It's whatever pace they want to play. And they're not bending for you just because you may have a great shooter. They're going to find a way to stop you, and they're definitely doing it as a team. Everyone that comes on the bench has bought into the system, and it's great to watch. It's great to see. And they've got one of the best records in the W for that. The Chicago Sky defeat the Liberty 90-81. Mabry had 21 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds. Angel Reese had 13 points, 9 rebounds. And Kennedy Carter had 12 points, 4 assists, 6 rebounds. For the Liberty, Sabrina Ionescu had 19 points and 6 assists. Brianna Stewart had 18 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. Angel Reese came into the game and immediately started playing real physical and tough defense against Brianna Stewart. It looked as if Stewart was getting frustrated and just discombobulated with how the whole game was being called and played. This is what we expect from Angel Reese. She's one of those players where her energy will definitely rub off on the rest of the team. When that happens defensively, they won't be stopped. So with this loss, it's their first loss of the season for the Liberty. I mentioned before they need more production from their bench. I stand by that statement. Jonquel Jones was in foul trouble. She's arguably, your second, third best player on the team? So when she's not being productive, what do you have to replace that? Next woman up mentality is a thing. We all know. We all say it. It's cliche to say. But who's actually doing it? They need to have a person who is like a Nas Reed. You can come in and not miss a beat regardless of who's out there. They've got time to make trades. They got time to develop the players that they've got now and build their confidence up into that player that they need. But right now, their bench points are struggling. Their bench production as a whole, whether that be coming off the bench and getting rebounds, they're not getting much from it. That has to change for them to be a championship team. The Mercury won a close one against the Mystics, 83-80. Copper had 20 points, 5 rebounds. Tarazi, 20 points, 6 rebounds. Cloud, 14 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds. For the Mystics, Atkins had 16 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds. And Van Loo had 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. The Mercury had a 14-point lead heading into the second half. And they made it very interesting at the end, almost losing this game. I applaud the competitiveness and the fight of the Mystics, knowing that this season's kind of a wash for them because they just don't have a consistent scorer who can get it done. I really don't know if they have an all-star on their team right now. That can definitely change. We're only 5 games into the year. But looking at it right now, I just say let's be competitive and let's try again next year. It's okay to have some of those seasons. We've seen other teams across all sports, this isn't your year. Just because you don't have the players that the other team has doesn't give you a reason to just go out lollygag and be an embarrassment to the organization. I think the only embarrassment in sports is not losing. It's not playing hard. So big props to the Mystics for continuing to play hard despite what they've got on their team. The Indiana Fever get their first win of the season against the LA Sparks, 78-73. Kelsey Mitchell had 18 points. Aaliyah Boston had 17 points and 6 rebounds. Fag Benlay had 17 points, 6 rebounds. And Caitlin Clark had 11 points, 8 assists, and 10 rebounds. For the Sparks, De'Erica Hamby had 18 points, 12 rebounds, and 7 assists. Cameron Brink had 15 points, 9 rebounds. And Rakia Jackson had 16 points off the bench. The Sparks had control of this game, too, until the fourth quarter. The Indiana Fever struggled most of the season closing out games, but they for sure didn't this time. You see glimpses of the Fever making it work, figuring it out, understanding how each player contributes to the team. Caitlin Clark is figuring out the spots for her teammates. She's understanding ways to use the high screener role with Nalissa Smith or Aaliyah Boston. I think this game, Aaliyah Boston was definitely more involved in the offense. It wasn't just being a post player. She was actually, reaching out to the free throw line, getting active, getting it off the glass as well. As dynamic of a player as Caitlin Clark is, I think she's beginning to realize that scoring 30 points a night isn't a necessity for her right now, not on this team. On the other hand, the Sparks, their starting guard duo with Brown and Nurse, they did not shoot well. They shot pretty awful. Lexi Brown shot 2 for 10, 0 for 5 from three-pointers. And Nurse shot 2 for 11, went 0 for 7 from three-pointers. The Liberty lost to the Lynx, 67-84. It's their second in a row. Nafisa Collier had 15 points, 12 rebounds. Kayla McBride had 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. And Alana Smith had 15 points, shooting 3 for 3 from three-pointers. For the Liberty, Brianna Stewart had 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists. Sabrina Onescu had 13 points, only shooting 5 for 14 from the field. It's the same story every time with the Liberty. Bench production. Again, Jonquel Jones is in foul trouble. She's limited to her activity, limited to her production for the team. And there's no one who's able to step up and at least defend. We're not asking you to go out and get you 20 and 12 like she's able to do every night. But could you get me 6 and 4? And then could I have another girl get me 5 and 3? It's a team sport. So we're not asking for you to replace and be a clone of Jonquel Jones or Brianna Stewart or Sabrina Onescu. We just need you to hold it down so we can take a breather, or if we get in foul trouble, to know that we have confidence in you, that you won't blow this lead that we have up 5. When I get back in the game, we're down 10. The Liberty need to work on that. They need to figure it out ASAP. We'll look up, it'll be All-Star Weekend already for them. At that point, it's kind of too late to figure it out. At that point, now it's pedal to the metal. You're playing heavier minutes, trying to improve playoff seeding. The Sun beat the Sky 86-82. Bonner had 19 points and 8 rebounds. Carrington and Jones had 16 points, 6 rebounds. And Harris had 15 points. For the Sky, Mabry had 23 points, shooting 4 for 7 from threes. And Evans had 13 points. And Angel Reese had 13 points and 5 rebounds. A big topic of discussion from this game is Alyssa Thomas and her hard foul on Angel Reese. Personally, I didn't think it was that hard of a foul, but I'm old school with it. I like physical basketball. It seemed like it was more of a welcome to the league moment between Angel Reese and Alyssa Thomas. Others say it's a dirty play and, they're just jealous because they have more notoriety and more publicity than the other veterans of the league. I don't think it's any of that. I think they're just playing physical basketball. This is a sport that requires physical contact. You're going to fall. You're going to get hurt. Injuries are they're going to happen. They're inevitable. I didn't see it as a dirty play. I thought it was just aggression, rough, a welcome to the league moment. Every player has had them. Caitlin Clark had them in her first game where she got stripped of the basketball a couple times from Dejanay Carrington, and she played great defense on her. That was game 1. She's also had some hard fouls too. But at the end of the day, the Sun managed to hold it down while Alyssa Thomas wasn't on the court. And they improved to the best record in the league, 5-0. I think they're the only undefeated team left. The Las Vegas Aces defeated the Fever, 99-80. Asia Wilson had 29 points, 15 rebounds. Jackie Young had 22 points, 6 assists. Kelsey Plum had 20 points and 7 assists. For the Fever, Kelsey Mitchell had 16 points. Fag Benley had 13 points and 8 rebounds. And Caitlin Clark had 8 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds. The Aces have too much for most teams. They've got 2 guards that are dropping 20 plus and 6 more assists. They've got Asia Wilson, who's getting you literally 30 and 15 most nights. It's unheard of. It's crazy stat to throw out. But that's what you got to deal with on a nightly basis when you're playing the Aces. You've got 3, if not 4, because Kelsey Gray is going to come back. And then when you come off the bench, you got to deal with Alicia Clark, who's going to get physical. She's not going to back down. She's just as much of a battler and of a mental menace as anybody in this league. One thing I did see in this game is Caitlin Clark's ability to pull up mid-range jumpers. We've all seen it in college, how she was pulling up from 30 feet, super long threes. You got to guard her when you step across half court. I think the next skill that she needs to hone in is a mid-range jumper. There's going to become a time when the pick and roll is working so well that they're just going to help on the pick. They're just going to double team the roll, which will leave you open for what? Probably a mid-range jumper from right above the free throw line. You got to learn how to hit those shots. It's a different shot. It's a, I would say, forgotten skill that most players don't have is the mid-range jumper, but those that do have it, they're deadly from it. You look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he loves the mid-range. Kawhi Leonard, mid-range king. Kobe Bryant, R.I.P. Black Mamba. Mid-range game was crazy. Michael Jordan himself had an outrageous mid-game. I think Caitlin Clark needs one. I think she'll definitely get one too. I think once she's able to just settle in and breathe, this is a lot going on for her right now. She'll definitely have great success. The Storm demolished the Mystics 101-69. For the Storm, Jewel Lloyd had 18 points, shooting 4 for 7 from 3. Nneka Ogwumike had 19 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals. And Skylar Diggins-Smith had 16 points and 9 assists. For the Mystics, Carly Samuelson had 16 points and 3 rebounds. Julie Van Loo had 12 points, 3 assists. And Jade Melbourne had 13 points, 3 assists, and 2 rebounds. I want to give out a big congratulations to Skylar Diggins-Smith. She's definitely had her ups and downs this season. This is her first year back after having her baby. She took a whole year off last year. Getting back into the swing of things and finding your rhythm is a tough thing to do, especially when you haven't played in a year. I think this game is definitely a confidence booster for her. She played a very efficient game. She flowed within the offense. I think this is a game where it could elevate her for the entire season. We saw what she was able to do before she took her time off. All-star, one of the best point guards in the league. She will definitely get back to that shape. She will definitely get back to that form this season. The Storm have a great team around her. They've got veterans. They've also got young pieces too. She's in the best of both worlds right now, and I'm really excited to see what the Storm are going to do at the end of this season. The Mystics are continuing to have a rough outing. They're having a rough year. I mentioned it before. They continue to play hard. They continue to improve what they can improve and just get better every day because that's kind of all they can do. The expectations for championships and deep playoff runs are pretty much non-existent for them right now. I think they'll probably set themselves up for a high draft pick next year, depending on what Elena Delle Donne will do with her future, if she'll come back to playing basketball, if that's even with the Mystics. We don't know. They've got a huge question mark within their organization, but props to them for continuing to compete, continuing to play hard, and just lay it out there every night. That's all they can do is just get better individually and mesh together as a team. The final game for the W is one that was extremely exciting to watch. Dallas won 107-92. Arike Ogunbowale dropped a 40-piece, 7 for 12 from three-pointers. Maddie Siegrist had 22 points and 9 rebounds, and Monique Billings had 18 points and 8 rebounds. For the Mercury, Kalia Copper had 32 points. Diana Taurasi had 28 points, shooting 6 for 13 from three-pointers. And Natasha Cloud had 9 points, 12 assists, and 3 rebounds. Arike is going to have to keep dropping 40 pieces just to keep the Dallas Wings afloat until Sably comes back. That's just the reality of the situation. If you want to stay in the hunt and if you don't want this season to get too far away from you, she's going to have to play out of her mind until that last month of the season when she gets some sufficient help from Sably. Right now, it seems like it's just her. Tierra McCowan, she's a great force in the paint, but you can't always count on her to get 20 points. You can count on her to get about 12 rebounds a game. It's kind of a struggle to get her to, be an offensive factor. I think the Mercury proved that they need Brittany Griner back ASAP. I don't want them to rush her foot injury. I don't want her to rush the recovery process. But they desperately need a post player in the paint. That's what they're used to. That's what they've been playing with for years since she got to the league. This core hasn't really changed too much since Brittany Griner's been in the league. So they're kind of adjusting not having her there. But once they get her back and everything's back to normal, the Mercury would be up there with the best of them in this league. That's all the updates for the W now. Time to look at the Manhattan Menaces, my WNBA fantasy team. I'm 2-0. I won again. My top performers for the week were Kayla McBride from the Minnesota Lynx. She gave me 59 points total this week. And Nalissa Smith from the Indiana Fever. She gave me 62 points this week. Third, of course, was Asia Wilson. She only played once this week. Got me 51 points, though. That's quite a bit for just one game. Injury updates for my fantasy team. With her knee injury, she is now cleared to play. I'm expecting her to definitely give me some small productions. It seems like the Chicago Sky are leaning towards Angel Reese at that position, but I do think coming off the bench for a while and just getting a feel of the game and where the team is at right now will help Harrison get more acclimated to the style of play for the Sky. Now for Open Gym. Like I mentioned before, this is a segment where I just go on a rant and talk about things that I saw that I need to get off my chest, or some things that bother me that I need to discuss with you guys. So I want to talk about Rudy Gobert and his Defensive Player of the Year performances against Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. He needs to send that trophy back to headquarters. I don't know if since he now has has now got his 4th Defensive Player of the Year trophy, if that adds a pressure to him being labeled as a good defender. I told you guys from the jump I didn't think he deserved it. He played great defense. He wasn't better than Wemby. Wemby doubled all of his stats. He doubled all of his steals. He doubled all of his blocks. When Wemby wasn't on the court, the Spurs were dead last in defensive efficiency. When he was on the court, they were number 1. Rudy Gobert introduced his kid into the world, missed a game. That was probably one of the best defensive showings that the Minnesota Timberwolves have played all season. Definitely all postseason. It was frustrating watching him leave the paint. All Luka was doing was watching him take a step forward to block his shot or come switch. And what is Luka doing? Passing it to the paint because Rudy Gobert's not there, which means you have a smaller big or a guard coming help side. Easy dunk for Gafford, easy dunk for Lively, easy dunk for literally anybody on the team in the NBA. It doesn't make sense why switching everything has become the norm now in the NBA. I'm aware that there's positionless basketball. I am aware that you have versatile bigs. But know your personnel. Rudy Gobert is not one of those versatile bigs. Karl Anthony Towns is not a versatile big. Just because Karl Anthony Towns can shoot threes does not mean he can guard the three. You don't want Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert guarding Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic on the three-point line. They're too slow. They don't have the footwork to stay in front of their man. As you saw, I believe it was game 2, where Luka Doncic hit the game-winning 3. Embarrassed that man. Had him on skates, and then had the nerve to talk stuff to him afterwards. I don't want to say had the nerve. He had every right to do that. I mean, why would you switch? That Defensive Player of the Year trophy needs to be sent back to headquarters. I want to also refer back to the open gym conversation I had on episode 2 with player accountability. When are y'all going to say something? When are you guys going to step up and say, Rudy, stay your butt in the paint. Don't step up. Don't leave. Don't try to switch out on players. We're fighting through every screen. The guards will be fine. We'll fight through every screen. because we don't want those mismatches with you. It's already a mismatch enough that Jaden McDaniels is guarding Luka and Anthony Edwards is guarding Kyrie. They don't know what to do with those guys. What makes you think that a slower Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, Karl Anthony Towns is going to know what to do with those guys? They're cooking them. If they don't get a handle on what their bigs are going to be doing defensively, this series is over. You would sure hate for a defensive player of the year to cost you the series defensively. It's a bad look on the league. I think everyone that voted needs to be investigated. What's the criteria that you're voting on? Is it because the Timberwolves had great defense all season? They played great team defense. As you saw without Rudy Gobert, they didn't miss a beat. So how important are you defensively if when you're not out there, your team looks as if they never needed you? This award has to change. They need to send it back and give it to Victor Wembanyama ASAP. I think the entire league now is looking at this series and is understanding how to finally beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. Bring Rudy Gobert out to the three-point line. Set a bluff screen. They're going to switch because for some odd reason, that's just the norm in the NBA now. No activity, no action is needed. No threats are needed. Why are you having Daniel Gafford out there and you're switching as if he's going to pop that three? If Luka gives it to him, he's not doing anything outside of the post. The Timberwolves need to take that same approach. Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford are not operating with the ball in their hands outside of the paint. Why is Rudy Gobert doing the same thing? Why isn't Rudy Gobert doing the same thing? You play defense in this paint. You score buckets in this paint. The only time you're going to be outside of the paint is when you're shooting free throws and walking to the bench to get some water. Other than that, don't even try to step forward out of the paint. You do that toe tap thing to avoid getting in 3 seconds, which they never call anyway, unless the refs are being real petty. Other than that, you stay here. You don't move. I think it's over for the Timberwolves. My prediction was wrong. I had Wolves in 6. I didn't think that Luka would pick apart Rudy Gobert like that. I didn't think the Timberwolves would let Luka pick Rudy Gobert apart like that. No adjustments have been made. No changes have been made. It's frustrating to watch. I'm yelling at the TV. I'm losing my voice. I'm calling people, going off. I'm writing down notes to what to talk to you guys about. I like seeing good basketball because my team is the Boston Celtics, have been for years. I'm not a bandwagon. That's my team. But on the West, I just like to see good basketball, and I'm watching terrible basketball. Yes, the games are close. They're entertaining. But in reality, should they be? Luka's great. Kyrie's great. Defense wins championships. That's what we say. That's what we preach, right? The Timberwolves are playing bad defense. It just so happens that the Mavericks are knocking down their shots. Who's to blame in this situation? I'm definitely going to blame the defense at all costs. There's always something better you could have done. When Luka has the ball and Kyrie has the ball in their hands and they shoot that shot, you're just praying to God it's a miss. They're that great. But you're giving up opportunities in the lane, Minnesota, by having Rudy Gobert leave his home. Now your home is unattended, unarmed. They got to do better. History can always be done. But right now, I think it's over for the Timberwolves. And next season's only going to get harder, guys. I mentioned it earlier in this episode. Take advantage of the time that's given you. I think you guys are the better team, the deeper team. Well, guys, that's it. Thank you for listening or watching episode 3 of DJ's Locker Room, a basketball podcast. I'd appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and share this episode with all the basketball addicts out there. And remember, it's a great day to be great today. See y'all Thursday. Deuces.